Good morning. I am glad you are here. It is time for 10 at 10. It's Wednesday. I had to double check there for a moment. It's Wednesday and it's time for 10 at 10. A couple of scheduling things. Tonight we will not be having midweek service, being that Christmas is coming up on Friday. And so no midweek service tonight, but Friday we gather at 6:30 for special music, 7 o'clock service. We'll be meeting in the sanctuary and also live streaming. There is a post on Facebook with the link to the bulletin. It's also found in the newsletter section on the website, but I'll link to that as well. But so that's because on Christmas Eve we'll be live streaming, but we're going to keep the view on the sanctuary so that you can see people, see candlelight, and all of that. On Friday evening we will not be having communion. And that's compromise that I could safely make because not knowing how many people will be in the sanctuary, we're going to be masked up for the entire time. Even when we light the candles for Silent Night and we get done with Silent Night and we extinguish the candles, you'll have a small plastic communion cup which you just drop right on the top of the candle, and it puts out the flame very easily. No mess, but also we don't have to pull down our masks and blow out. With Omicron and cases rising, that's what we're going to do to keep each other safe, but also being able to worship together. So that's Friday, and then Sunday we gather. Hopefully, I say hopefully because if you've seen the weather reports, we're supposed to get quite a bit of snow. I don't know. But anyway, the plan is to gather on Sunday morning at 10 and have our lessons and carols. So we'll be moving ahead with that unless we wake up and we go, oh, look at that. But, you know, it's like, let's roll the dice and see. But that's the scheduling stuff for today. 10 at 10 for today. I'm going to be continuing. This is the 10 at 10 Christmas Stories Edition, Part 2. And I'm reading another story from Tracks in the Straw, Tales Spun from the Manger by Ted Loder. And I had mentioned that these are stories about people on the edge, on the outskirts. And I realized that in Ted Loder's book, this section that I'm reading, these stories they're entitled, the section is entitled, In the Shadows. And I love that image where kind of they're there, they're watching, they're seeing, and they're ones that we might not notice. So today I am reading a story called The Ninth Woman, subtitle Midwife. So that is for today, and then the next for tomorrow, the story I will be reading is called Clumsy Beautiful, through the eyes of the servant girl. So this is today, The Ninth Woman, the Midwife. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to say before I read. I'm so glad you are here. Glad you are spending a little bit of time with me in this way. And that's what I got. So let's read. Listen to this story from The Ninth Woman. In some things, you have no choice. You just have to do them whether you want to or not, regardless of whether you see much purpose in them. And it isn't until afterward that you may wonder about them and about why things happened just that way to you. So off in Rome, Caesar Augustus decided on a census, and we, as people under him, had to comply. And so it began. It may have seemed a little thing to him, but to us it was a major disruption. There was a lot of talk, a lot of resentment, but you couldn't do anything about it. I mean, everybody had to go to the place of their ancestors to be counted. We went to Bethlehem, Amos and I and our children, because that's where his family was from. The thing I couldn't figure out was why we had to be counted. Some said it was for taxes. Since we had nothing anyway, such a long, hard trip seemed doubly ridiculous to us. But, like I said before, we had to go. So we went. And little Deborah was sick all the way, burning hot she was. It is hard enough taking care of your family at home. But you know, when traveling, it's almost impossible. But you do what you have to do. So as it turned out, the morning we finally got to the place where the Roman legionnaires were asking people all the questions and writing down the answers on large scrolls, I was the 9th woman. I don't know why I remember that. The soldier asking questions called out for another to write down Amos of Gadar, the 15th man on this day with 4 male children, 3 female, and his wife, the 9th woman. And all the while they were joking among themselves, paying little attention to us, really. It was hard and bare, a number like that, so simple and matter-of-fact and distant. Somehow I remember shivering, and I remember my feet hurting, and I remember Deborah being so hot, and then this 9th woman. Afterward, when the man said that it was all that was all, and we could go, found out that there was no place for us to stay. Those who could afford it stayed in the inn. Some had family in Bethlehem who could put them up. We, less fortunate ones, well, we did the best we could. A man Amos met said some people were being allowed to stay behind the inn in a cave where the animals were kept. So, having little option, we went. It was out of the wind. I remember the wind that night, and I recall hoping Deborah wouldn't catch a worse cold. We found some water for her, and we shared a little bread. It was a bit crowded with all the people and the animals. And then, over in the corner, there was a sharp cry. There was a groan, and it was almost like a wounded animal. I knew immediately what it was, and I felt sorry for her. It wasn't much of a place for giving birth, but I knew I'd have to help as well, and that was irritating. I was so tired. Wasn't Deborah being sick enough? And the other kids crying and all the restlessness that you felt in the air. But, like going for the census, you do what you have to do. The woman's eyes were wide and frightened. The pain of it seemed to surprise her. It often does the first time. Her husband didn't know what to do except to keep reassuring her. Birth is too much for most men to understand. For most women, too, I suppose, but you have to take care of things first and then figure out later if you can. And most men can't do without answers before they try anything. Answers, answers, answers. It took a while. This was not an easy birth. It was good that I was there to help. Knowing how I was, I could tell her about it, and it seemed to calm her. I told her to scream if she had to, and then to bite on her shawl, the shawl, not the lip. And I reminded her that the pain was helping the baby get out. And when he finally came, I cleaned him with straw as you do with a newborn animal. I wrapped the baby and I gave him to his mother. She was exhausted. And so was I. But you do what you have to do, and I was glad that I could help. There's nothing like seeing what happens between a mother and a baby in that first few minutes. I've been there lots of times, helping in my little village of Gadara, but never in a stable. Yet the strange thing is, I felt it then too, that special thing between a mother and a baby. The mother looked up and asked me what my name was. I told her, Leah. And she said, Leah, this is Jesus. I smiled. It was the first time that anyone had called me by my name since we left home. Not a number, a name. It felt good. I touched her forehead and the cheek of Jesus and held her hand for a while until she slept. Deborah was still hot when I went back to my family, and I laid down with her and I held her very close. The children were all awake, but quiet in the dark, and just their eyes moved. They had seen. It was like they were struggling with a secret and didn't know how to ask or tell it. And I didn't know how to tell them either. Some nights, like that one, the wind whispers and it seems somehow like more than the wind. And children are quiet at the end of the day. Little things happen and somehow they don't seem so little. But it isn't until afterward that you may wonder about them and about why they happened just that way to you. Like that simple statement, that simple introduction. Leah, this is Jesus. So my friends, that's 10 at 10 for this morning. May you glimpse Jesus today. May that be in the eyes of a stranger, and may you share joy with Jesus. Be reminded that there is nothing in all of creation, not height or depth, not angels or demons, not things we did yesterday or the things we're going to do tomorrow, that can separate you from the love of God found in Christ Jesus. That is the definition of grace, my friends. I'll see you tomorrow when I read the story, Clumsy Beautiful, through the eyes of the servant girl. So with that, we will see you tomorrow, and may your day be full of joy, gentleness, and may you share kindness with the stranger. Peace.